welcome back to part two. And delighted today to have Candice, who is sharing her views on, particularly on security and innovation. And we learned something already from part one, which is that security and innovation are actually very much complementary and actually can make merchant services so much more effective and more secure as they scale their operations for agentic commerce and for e-commerce as we move forward, as well as standard commerce. So the question I've been dying to ask you is when it comes to security and also then infrastructure, what's the pressing thing that actually what keeps you awake at night?
Yeah, I think I touched on it loosely in part one that these fraudsters are organized crime. They're like businesses. It's driven by attacker innovation. They're like high tech companies, and they're agile. They're also data led, and they're globally coordinated. And it does make them very, very tough to combat. It keeps me awake at night, but it drives me to build solutions here that actually tackle them head on. And I also think about how I'm particularly focused on the checkout aspect of fraud, but the fraudster journey happens quite a bit
Mm,
further upstream. So for me, it's really what keeps me awake is trying to help merchants make the invisible visible very early on to save them the pain of things that I have seen
I see.
uh, coming further down the road. So stopping bad things before they start is what keeps me awake. And it's really to think about constantly staying ahead of their game, which is a
Brilliant.
challenge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when it comes to trying to achieve that, I'd imagine collaboration is key, both within your organization, but obviously now we know within our wonderful payments ecosystem as well. So how do you go about collaborating and what mindset do you take to collaboration both within your organization and within the payments industry?
You're 100% correct. We are an ecosystem, and a lot of the things I work on, they're fundamentally dependent on both internally and external collaboration to make them successes. So internally, I start whenever I get given something that is on a scale of the sorts of things I work on, the global and applicably global to our merchants, that I build my alliances early. I pull together all the key stakeholder groups and teams that are going to need to be part of making this a success for us and mostly for my merchant customers. So people like sales, legal, marketing, platform teams, data, uh, all of us will need to get together and we will be constantly needing to work together. So build my alliance early. I'd make sure that everybody is clear on which part of the pig jigsaw puzzle they are responsible for and staying close and making sure we can succeed together because these kind of transformations they don't succeed in isolation. Um, and in terms of the wider ecosystem, so the fraudsters becoming very, very data driven, are collaborating using, for my particular solutions, what we call consortium data. So other acquirers, other merchant data, we're looking to anonymize the data
Yes.
and but build huge pools of data that determine new fraud trends, new fraud pockets, and we can use those to in real time assess risks of transactions, and it's constantly adaptive, but that all is predicated on us collaborating, sharing data for the greater good. So that's
Yep.
something that is really starting to happen more and more across our industry because, as I said, I think transformation, fraud prevention, it can't happen in isolation.
Yeah,
And
indeed. But I'm hearing there the most important thing is to have the relationships in place before they're needed. And it seems to me the proactivity of say being upstream when it comes to or and making sure that preventative
Mm.
seems the way forward, whether it's fraud or whether it's in a partnership. That seems to be a key approach that you take.
Absolutely. And the more, and particularly as an acquirer processor, as we're moving out of our fundamental um, scope, if you like, though you're partnering more and you're working with technologies and expertise that you don't necessarily have internally. So those stakeholder relationships and really working together is even more fundamental.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So I know how passionate you are about the payments industry. I know how you committed as well to say being a judge on
Yes.
the card and payment awards and recognizing excellence and also recognizing innovation. But what's the one myth that perhaps you'd like to blow about the payments industry or security or data or fraud? What's the one myth about our industry that you would like to share with us and our audience?
Yeah, there are probably a couple, but the biggest myth is one I touched on that security slows things down and
Okay.
isn't actually your greatest asset and a growth lever that helps stop margin erosion.
Yeah.
So security is not a compliance burden. It is actually a core part of your payment strategy. And if you have that down pat, you are going to succeed far more readily. So that's a huge myth.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, no, I think that would probably be if I had to pick, that would be my biggest one. And I think that we need to flip that mindset. Everything is always changing, and the security is here and is adaptive, as I mentioned, with the machine learning modeling we do and artificial intelligence. We have greater power to use that security real time, reduce friction, and yeah, be a true reliable driver of revenue growth.
So I wonder if you could bring that to life for us, though. You mentioned a few times there that you see security as a key growth lever. I wonder, I know my audience that they love a good story and a good case study. So I wonder if you could just bring that to life for us a bit.
So what we specialize in is stopping bad things happen before they start. So you obviously have your payment security standards that you would want to comply with, but some of our tools, for example, they take 100 different signals from different parts of the ecosystem. So whether it's location, whether it's how many cards registered, whether who you're connected to, and in nanoseconds, we can determine what is a good transaction, what
Yep.
is a, you know, maybe to be given the benefit of the doubt transaction and a very bad transaction. So we will stop the bad things there and then in nanoseconds, allowing the business to go forward. And I think people may not realize that fraud is perceived to be the biggest problem that industry has at the moment, retail and beyond, but it's costing about 300 billion. But actually, trying to stop that fraud, merchants are struggling and blocking a lot of good business, and that results in what we call false positives, which is worth 600 billion.
Right.
So what we're doing is bringing sophistication to security that stops those false positives, allows good customers to come through. Because also I'm aware that 1 in 2 customers, they get stopped by overzealous
Yeah.
security and don't come back. So if you
Yeah.
get your security right and you implement
Okay.
it upfront effectively with a good partner consultancy by your side, that will, can reduce the bad stuff and increase the good stuff and mean potentially millions on your bottom line.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So that's incredible. And I did see a lovely quote from you not so long back, which was just, I think you said, that there's so much fraud in the world that actually what did you say?
Yes.
It's got the GDP. Yeah.
Yes, that one I've actually put that up at conferences because it's quite staggering. I took all the 10 largest economies in the world, and if cybercrime fraud were indeed a country, it would be proudly sitting in third place. just behind America and China, and ahead of Japan and the rest of us. So it is being run like a high-tech industry with very clever people and very high-powered technology. But we're here to hope to reduce their incomes and help the good guys succeed.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I wonder if we've got to close on a positive or close on something optimistic. So what are the opportunities within the payments industry that excite you the most in the near term?
Gosh, so my next exciting project, and it's probably a bit of a buzzword, is agentic commerce.
Yeah. Okay.
Is seeing again how the technology and the innovation is going to make things easier and more exciting for cardholders and our merchants, and that excites me to empower that journey. It's a bit like we probably don't remember how it was before you could just tap in and out of a tube station.
Indeed.
I feel like we're on the cusp of the next great innovation
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
contactless, and that I am responsible for the security and fraud management of your agents, and that you can buy and shop and do exciting things in exciting ways without fear of pain and data theft. That's what excites me.
Wonderful. So, what this is the stage where I sort of just try and summarize our conversation and just bring out some of the salient points. Would that be okay?
Yes, that's perfect.
So I think obviously from part one we talked about. I think the three C's have come out of this for me today: curiosity, collaboration, and being on the cusp. So I think that curiosity has embraced your career, and you've had a career based on curiosity. It's how you recruit. It's how you explore challenges. It's how you achieve tasks, and it's also sort of just like how you're made and that sort of as a human and how you take that to your work and the great work that you do from that sort of perspective. But also, I know that how you embrace a challenge is exactly the same from that perspective as well. Collaboration is really what shone through for me, both internally and collaborating early, both internally and externally, and getting that engagement level, getting that level of relationship, building trust with people, creating an environment not just for your team, but where your team and the leaders can also connect together and also build relationships because nobody is an island in the payments industry, or if they are, they're not a very successful one. So that collaboration and that collaborative mindset absolutely fundamental to solving particular challenges. And also then, because we face a huge one, as you said, fraud, if fraud was a country, that's the staggering one from here. It's the headline from this conversation for me. If it was a country, it'd have the third largest GDP in the world, which is frightening, which is
It
frightening.
is.
Yeah.
It is indeed.
Uh, what I think is interesting is the flip side of that as well, actually, is the missed opportunities would be double the size of that at 600 billion. So let's not
Mm,
forget what and why security is therefore a growth lever, not a compliance burden. That's clearly proof with numbers there. But also let's look towards the future and the future that you're working on there. And I think that was you described as being on the cusp. Agentic commerce, whilst not a buzzword at the moment, etc., is again, it's difficult for us to remember, even if we go back pre-COVID, the fact that we've now got a card that has £100 limit. I know there's new regulations that are going to give banks the opportunity to change that limit even as they want to. But going back, even 5 years ago, it was 30 to £40, even
mm.
tapping in and out to go on the London transport system. Whereas you just seem really excited by the fact we're on the cusp there of an opportunity that actually is, as we all best do in the payments industry, if we can get a place where all boats can rise, better for consumers, better for businesses, better for acquirers, better for issuers, better for schemes, better for the economy, better for all. So that was the big thing that I took away today for me: curiosity, collaboration, and the fact that we're on the cusp of great innovation that can positively impact us all.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's another thing that is fundamental to me is that we can only rise when we lift each other. And I'm very proud to be part of an ecosystem and a community that's always striving to innovate and driving um, and pushing that we're always on the cusp of something new and exciting. So yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, look, thank you very much indeed for your time, for your insights, for your optimism, but also just really unlocking some. I love when a guest comes on, and I love to learn, obviously. When a guest comes on and just shares different perspectives, not just reframes, but reframes to improve. So, thank you so much today. Very much appreciate the conversation.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.